Good afternoon, friends. Jai Hind to all of you. Today, we are going to understand the dynamics of the integration of the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir into the Union of India. So, let's start. On 15th August 1947, India became independent. However, the British made a hasty exit, leaving us with a terrifying legacy of partition, with bloodshed, riots, and loss of lives all around. For the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, however, then ruled by the Dogra king Maharaja Singh, the worst was yet to come. On October 22nd, 1947, a tribal militia from Pakistan, the Qabilis, they invaded Kashmir and sparked the first India-Pakistan war. The story of this barbaric invasion is often subsumed in the larger narrative of the war that ensued. Post-war, when the ceasefire happened, of the 2.6 lakh square miles area of the erstwhile princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, only 65% remained with us, while 35% is still coveted by the Pak-occupied Kashmir. Let us try to delve deeper into these intricacies of how the erstwhile princely state was integrated and the key actors that play a critical role, that played a very, very critical role in those turbulent times in the formative years of India's independence. So, friends, let's start our story of the basket of apples, the story of the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. So, in this video, we're going to discuss a nuanced understanding of how Jammu and Kashmir acceded to India. See, this is basically the map of India, Jammu and Kashmir, where we see this is the Pak-occupied Kashmir, which the Pakistanis occupied after the Operation Gulmarg, as we will study later, and later 1962 war, how the Accession area was also taken up. So let's move further. So at the time of independence, when the British left, the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir remained independent for 73 days, from 15th August to 26th of October 1947. So this was the time it remained as an independent country. The ruler at that time, the Dogra king, Maharaja Singh, he was beset with a lot of problems. First of all was the challenge posed by Dr. Sheikh Abdullah. So Sheikh Abdullah was a Democrat. He had been waging a struggle against Maharaja's rule. He was struggle against the Maharaja's rule since 1930s. And more so, the Maharaja, he had a weak army. His private army was really weak. Majority, it was a Muslim army. And later we will see how his army deserts him during the time of the tribal invasion, the Qabili raid. So on August 12, 1947, now Maharaja was forced. He was tarrying for time. The Maharaja has been tarrying for time. He wanted time to decide whether I want to join India or Pakistan. So eventually he proposed a standstill agreement with both India and Pakistan. We have studied about the standstill agreement and the instrument of accession in the part 1 of this video series. I will share the link in the description. You can go and check and read about it. Right? When Pakistan agreed, Pakistan signed the instrument of accession. The Indian government refused. They told the Maharaja to send a representative for discussions. So they wanted to iron out a few things, understand the complexities, and then only sign any such standstill agreement. So with every passing day, the problems of Maharaja were increasing only, which were compounded. Now these problems of the Maharaja were compounded by the proximity of Sheikh Abdullah and Pandit Nehru. right? So this is the meeting which is taking place at the time of independence. This is Lord Mountbatten, Pandit Nehru, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and other eminent leaders of that committee who were to decide upon signing the standstill agreement. So at the same time, we have seen when Maharaja on the one side was cornered. Maharaja was cornered because of his weak army, the challenge posed by Sheikh Abdullah, the Sheikh Abdullah's proximity to Pandit Nehru, and one more thing is there. In the pre-independence time, just before independence, Pandit Nehru had visited the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir to ask the Maharaja to release Sheikh Abdullah because he wanted a democratic setup in the state. Not only the Pandit Nehru's request was denied by Maharaja, but he was forced to move out. So that level of animosity, also remained between Pandit Nehru and Maharaja Hari Singh. Now, at the same time, one side on the Indian front, the Maharaja was faced with multiple problems. When we talk about Muhammad Ali Jinnah, so he had been sending warning notes to the Maharaja. He wanted the Maharaja to accede to Pakistan. So, if we look at one of those notes that he sent to the Maharaja on August 24, 1947, it read, "Should Kashmir fail to join Pakistan, the gravest possible trouble will inevitably ensue." So it was a direct challenge to the Maharaja. He was cornered in Indian circles where Pandit Nehru, Sheikh Abdullah, his weak army, his depleting reserves, they were a challenge. On the other side, the warning notes of Muhammad Ali Jinnah did not help either. So he was in quite a jittery situation at that moment. So if we continue in that vein also, Pandit Nehru wanted Jammu and Kashmir to join India, but he did not want the divine right of kings to continue. So he was not in favor of the divine right of kings. He was never in favor of that. So at the same time, Sheikh Abdullah's democratic approach was also Maharaja's big challenge. So at this time, Maharaja was like in a catch-22 situation. On the other side, now if we talk about Muhammad Ali Jinnah, so Muhammad Ali Jinnah was confident. He was very confident that Kashmir will easily accede to Pakistan. He's one of the popular statements in this regard. He said once that Kashmir will fall into my lap like a ripe fruit. He was so sure about it that Kashmir will fall into my lap like a ripe fruit. In this context, it is important to mention here that Muhammad Ali Jinnah was suffering from a lung problem at that time. Probably it could have been lung cancer. He wanted to spend a few days in Kashmir. So he thought it may help his ailment, it may help his medical condition, and he could recover from his disease. So he sent for his military secretary at that time, Colonel William Burney. Colonel William Burney was his military secretary. He sent him to Maharaja and asking him to make arrangements for his stay in Kashmir during that time. But Muhammad Ali Jinnah was in for a surprise. He was in for a shock now. Not only did he deny any such permission to Muhammad Ali Jinnah, his military secretary, Colonel Burney, even said this, that Maharaja would not even allow you to set foot on Kashmir even as a tourist. So the Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was harboring these plans of easy accession of Kashmir to the Pakistan state, was even denied by the then incumbent Maharaja, the Dogra king, Maharaja Hari Singh, to even set foot on Kashmir. So this was a great wake-up call. This is a big wake-up call for the Pakistani premier at that time. So he hatched a secret plan. He hatched a conspiracy. He wanted Kashmir by hook or by crook. So his British commander, the commander of the army, Pakistan army at that time, was a British general. So what Muhammad Ali Jinnah wanted to keep this plan very secret. So he sent his British general to UK for some official purpose. So in the meantime, he collaborated with other people in his close circle and planned an Operation Gulmarg. That is what we know as the tribal invasion. So that is the covert military operation of Pakistan Army. Kabylis, the Pashtuns, they were sent to Kashmir to conquer and invade Kashmir. Now what happens? Come 22nd October 1947, Pakistan launched Operation Gulmarg. So Operation Gulmarg was around 2,000 tribal invaders, as we can see in the picture, also called as Kabylis. We also know them as Kabylis. If term Kabyle is used, don't confuse it. It is the same as the tribal invaders. So they were armed with modern weaponry and they raided the city of Muzaffarabad. And at that time, they were led by one Muslim League leader, Sairab Hayat Khan. He was leading the campaign, Sairab Hayat Khan. Right. So the plan of these raiders, and in fact the plan of Jinnah, was to surprise the Maharaja on the next morning on his breakfast tea. When Maharaja has even denied him to set foot, Jinnah had other plans. He wanted to surprise Maharaja on breakfast tea, that is, tribal invaders have overtaken the Srinagar city and the reign of the Maharaja has come to an end. So this was the original plan of these tribal invaders. Now in this sense, in the context of the tribal invasion, this reference would not be complete without the mention of this great young lad who was a disciple of Sheikh Abdullah, Maqbool Sherwani. His contribution in thwarting this tribal advance towards Srinagar city has been instrumental in giving the Indian Army, it gave the Indian Army the much needed valuable time to land in Kashmir. So what happened? In fact, after he was captured, so what this man did, what this young boy did, he made these tribal invaders to wander on the wrong routes. He showed them wrong routes. In fact, he went on his bike from one street to another, telling these invaders that you should not go to Srinagar. You should not go to Srinagar because the Indian Army has reached there. The Indian Army has reached there and they are deployed. Indian Army has reached in Srinagar and they are deployed near Baramulla. So you should not advance right now. So this helped gain some crucial time. Eventually, later on, when Maqbool was captured by the raiders, when they found out that Maqbool Sherwani has misguided them and he's a traitor, they told him, the Amir of the raiders, the Amir, he told him that we will forgive you if you join us. If you join us and tell the secret locations of the Indian Army and their deployments, we will leave you. We will do nothing to you. You tell us the shortest route to the Srinagar aerodrome, and we will set you free. We won't do anything to you. But this young lad was so courageous. He said, no, that shall not be the case. And his indomitable spirit and bravery allowed that much valuable time. And on next morning, on the 27th October, when the Indian Army landed in Srinagar. So that day is also celebrated as an Infantry Day, as a tribute to India's landing in Srinagar, and also the contribution of this great man, this great young lad whose contribution was really important. He was instrumental in ensuring Kashmir's integration to India. So he made them wander in this Sumbal area. We have discussed that before as well. So when he was found, when he was captured, he was crucified in Baramulla's Central Square. Baramulla's Central Square, he was first killed, butchered, and nails were put in his body. He was crucified badly, and that was a spectacle. They wanted to make it a spectacle for others to see, so that nobody dares to do such an act. But his contribution will go down the history and is remembered in India's Kashmir's accession story. Now let's understand further about how these tribal invaders moved further. Now, by the evening of October 23, 1947, these Kabilis had captured Dumail. In the next 2 days, they captured Gadi as well as Chinari. These two areas also fell to the tribal invaders. Further, they proceeded to Uri, and from them they had to go to Baramulla along the Jhelum River. Along the Jhelum River, they were to proceed to Baramulla, and after that to Srinagar city to eventually put siege to the throne of the Maharaja, Dogra ruler Maharaja Hari Singh. But what happened here? Apart from the contribution of Makbul Sherwani, the tribal invaders did their own mistake. In fact, it was said to these tribal that you loot the booty is yours, you just capture the Srinagar city. So they indulged in looting, rape, and plunder in the Baramulla city. In fact, irrespective of religion, even Muslims were not left. Everyone was butchered, everyone was killed except a few. So there is this interesting story here that even the brass handles on the churches, they were pulled out. So it was such kind of barbarism, such kind of brutality that was happening. Women were raped, people were killed, looted, plundered, and it was all mayhem happening all over there. In fact, their Amir, their leader Sarab Hayat Khan, he had to literally pull them out, and to ensure that they go on to what is the task assigned. So effectively, it took them 48 hours to cover a distance of 75 kilometers. This again, combined with the contribution of Makbul Sherwani, gave them the critical breathing space to the Indian army to reach the Srinagar city. So eventually, when they reached further, they reached the Mahura power station, where they bombed it. They bombed the power station with the dynamite sticks. They used the dynamite sticks and bombed the power station, plunging the entire valley from Kargil, Ladakh to the valley itself into a spell of mysterious darkness. So the valley was in darkness. It is quoted that even the chandeliers of Maharaja's palace were blown out, symbolic of his reign being extinguished. So as this mysterious darkness ensued, Maharaja could see his end. He could see how his end looked imminent and Srinagar is going to fall. It is at this time, on October 24, 1947, he appealed to the Indian government for military assistance. So it is at this time, on 24th of October, that he appealed to the Indian government for military assistance. So what happened on the next morning, on 25th of October? Indian Defence Committee, headed by Pandit Nehru, then we have Sardar Patel, we have other leaders, Lord Mountbatten is also there, VP Menon is there. So they recognized the importance to rush arms and ammunition and forces, arms, ammo, and the troops into Srinagar, to the valley, to thwart the tribal advance. But here, there was a challenge here now. Now, Lord Mountbatten, he said that you cannot send your military to the, because Kashmir at that time was an independent country. So it would be difficult for you to invade an independent country. You first have to let the Kashmir accede to India. Also, Pandit Nehru and Sardar Patel were astute leaders. They also wanted the Maharaja to first accede to India, and then they were willing to send the Indian military to the rescue of the valley. At the same time, the problems of Maharaja were compounded. As we discussed earlier also, his private army had deserted him, and some of them even joined the raiders. So his reserves were depleting. India's urgent help was critical. India's intervention at this time was critical to save Jammu and Kashmir from falling into Pakistani hands. Right? So, along with Sardar Patel, we have to understand the man who is known as the man who saved India in the entire integration process of different states, be it Junagadh, be it Hyderabad, be it Bhopal, and be it the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. VP Menon played a very, very critical role. So what he did, when the committee decided that first the accession should happen on 25th October, they met. On the same day, VP Menon, he flew to Srinagar. He in fact took multiple flights in between. First from Delhi to Srinagar, then driving super fast in his car to Maharaja's palace to ensure that uh, he drives to Jammu to ensure that the city does not, the emperor doesn't, the king doesn't fall in the tribal hands. So in that case, the entire military activity would be useless. At the same time, he flew back to Delhi from there, and the Maharaja, the instrument of accession, the Maharaja was called upon to sign the instrument of accession. Next morning, on the morning of 26th of October, VP Menon again flew back to Jammu. First, he comes from Delhi to Srinagar, then back to Delhi. On the next morning, from Delhi to Jammu, and reaches the Amar Mahal Palace. Reaches the Amar Mahal Palace of the Maharaja. Amar Mahal Palace of the Maharaja. To let him sign to make him to sign the instrument of accession. Now here one more thing is, Maharaja had told his Diwan that if VP Menon does not reach before 12 p.m, shoot me. Because he knew if accession of his state is not acceded to India, he is going to be captured, and he did not want to die in tribal hands. He did not want to be, tortured and all. So he told his Diwan that shoot me if the VP Man doesn't come. Eventually, VP Man landed. The instrument of accession was signed, and Jammu and Kashmir, the erstwhile princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, became a part of India. It acceded to India on 26th October 1947, and that is also celebrated as Jammu and Kashmir Accession Day. Now this is the instrument of accession, Shriman Indra Rai Bahadur Raja Rajeshwar Hari Singh Ji, and here we have it was signed by Hari Singh Ji and Lord Mountbatten. Now the headlines of the next day: Hindustan Time reads, Kashmir accedes to India, plebiscite soon. In fact, on the same day, on 26th of October, VP Menon, when he flew back to Delhi, he invited the British Deputy High Commissioner, Alexander Simon, to his residence. So over a drink, he told him, taking a paper out of his briefcase, that Kashmir is in my bag. It was literally in his bag. And on the next morning, 27th October 1947, 9:30 hours, one first Sikh battalion landed in Srinagar, and it was like India had literally landed in Jammu and Kashmir, which was the erstwhile princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. Fine. Over the next 2 to 3 days, the Indian government used all its civilian as well as military aircrafts. They were pushed into service. And about 1 lakh troops reached the valley, which eventually helped in thwarting the tribal advance and the siege of the city of Srinagar. Here we have also have to understand that Maqbool Sherwani's role was critical for India winning the Battle of Shaltang. India won the Battle of Shaltang. India won the Battle of Shaltang, which would prove to be crucial to India taking over Jammu and Kashmir. So eventually, as we heard later, ceasefire was signed. It went to the United Nations and talk of the plebiscite. So eventually, this is how the current union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and the then princely state, erstwhile princely state, became a part of the Indian Union. And in 1954, 5th of February 1954, the Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir affirmed that we, the people of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, having solemnly resolved, in pursuance of the accession of the state to India, effected on the 26th day of October 1947, do further define the existing relationship of the state with the Union of India as an integral part thereof. I have to read it again, as an integral part thereof. So since then, Jammu and Kashmir remains an integral as well as an inalienable part of the Indian Union. So friends, this was the story of the accession of one of the largest princely states of Jammu and Kashmir. So in this 3 lecture series, we studied about, in the first part, we studied about briefly about how the process of accession happened, who were the key actors in the entire scheme of things, how Junagadh was acceded, how Hyderabad was acceded. This we saw in the second video, and in the current video we have understood how the dynamics, how the complicated situation in the in Jammu and Kashmir, where the Maharaja, the Dogra king, had initially tarried for time, and he wanted more time to decide whether he wanted to join India or Pakistan, and how eventually the diplomatic astuteness of Sardar Patel, Pandit Nehru, and VP Menon helped this princely state of Jammu and Kashmir to accede into the Indian Union. So this is the conclusion of our 3 video series. I hope it has helped you understand, get some clarity over the accession process vis-a-vis the different states we discussed. And that should be it for the series. We will be coming up more interesting series on interesting topics. If you want any topic to be on which a video should be made, you can mention that. We will try to get on that as well. So I wish you all a very good health and keep healthy. Wishing you all a happy Diwali as well. So good luck friends, keep healthy, stay blessed, and let's make this world a better place to live in. So that's all for today. Until next time, Jai Hind friends.